Hello everyone, my name is Rod,
And I'm Oliver.
and today will be our 9th episode of our podcast on the New York City Subway system. Today's episode is a special episode with a special guest, Abdoulaye. Today's episode will be centered around all of our training experiences, especially Oliver and Abdoulaye's, and that'll be like the first part of the episode, and during the second part of the episode we'll do sort of a scenario type game where Abdoulaye will think of a start and stop location in New York City, and Abdoulaye and Oliver will try to find the best route through the MTA to get there. So I have a question for both Oliver and Abdoulaye. What is your guys' favorite subway line? Whoever wants to take it away can start.
Yeah, so I think my favorite subway line is the 7 line. It goes from like 42nd Street in Manhattan into Queens. And then it has a lot of cool stops along the way. The route it follows, it goes through a lot of like ethnic neighborhoods, which I think is really cool. Like it stops in Woodside, where they have a very large Filipino community, and they have a lot of good Filipino food. And also by the end of the line at Mets Willets Point, they have 2 big sports stadiums. They have the U.S. Open tennis grounds and the Mets Stadium City Field, which I like to go to. So yeah, that's why the 7 is my favorite line. Lots of stuff to do along the route.
For me personally, my favorite line is like the 5 line. I think just like being able to go like near what's that place called, Central Park, and then being able to go down to like southern Manhattan, around the Tribeca area, and it goes all the way down to that financial district, which is a place that I've been to a lot. I just think that's one of my favorite train lines.
For me, it's got to be the J or Z line, because one, I like how Jay-Z his origins for his name may have came from this line. It's hypothetical, obviously. And then I also like going to Broad Street because I have a lot of family who live around that area. So that's definitely probably my favorite subway line. So my next question for both of you guys is, can you tell me a time when you were on the subway and you were completely lost, or in New York City in general, and what was that experience like?
I guess for me, a story where I was completely lost, it actually happened earlier this school year around September. So essentially, I went to New York City with my dad, and I guess he had like some business talk there, and like I was pretty bored, so I was like, all right, let me just like go out in New York City. And so right now we're like at this point in the story, it's like the financial district, but I kind of just like kept walking on the street. I don't really know where I was going. I kept like walking past a bunch of like Starbucks and stuff like that. And like, so at this point, like the day's kind of getting like darker, and now I'm like completely lost in New York City. I don't know where I am, so I have to use Google Maps. And also my dad's calling me, trying to figure out where I am, because I told him I was going to stop at like some Barnes and Nobles. But now he's like, where are you? Like, we have to go home. And so I'm kind of just like making excuses that I'm like stopping at CVS.
You didn't want him to know you, that you were like, you had no idea where you were.
No. I was scared because like my dad, like if he knew I was lost, he would like yell and stuff like that. He probably would have called the police to try and find me. So essentially I had to like use Google Maps. And then I realized that I wasn't that far away, but I kept walking in, like, a different direction at times. I would, like, make progress, and then I'd, like, divert. And so I ended up taking, like, 40 minutes to get back to my dad. And then he basically just, like, yelled at me the whole entire car ride home.
Ooh.
Damn.
For me, one time when I was lost, there's this one station on the subway, Fulton Street, which is in Lower Manhattan, sort of near the financial district that Abdoulaye was talking about. The thing with Fulton Street is that it's just like a huge mess of underground passageways that connect the stations. So like the platforms are like on top of each other, and like you have to go through one train platform to get to another train's platform to transfer. I remember just going like running up a platform looking for like the way to transfer to another I think it was trying to transfer to like the J train. I kept like going up like to a platform looking for the transfer point. It wasn't there, then going up again, and then like going out of the subway, then coming back in. I think I ran around for like 15-20 minutes before like I finally found the platform of the train I was going to. So if you're at Fulton Street, just beware, it's a bit of a mess.
I actually also think I have a story about when I got lost in New York. It wasn't so much on the subway system, but I basically walked from around Broad Street to Brooklyn Bridge. And I was crossing over, I was just walking along the Brooklyn Bridge, and by the way, if you're ever at the Brooklyn Bridge, that's an amazing walk. Like, just walking across is really cool. And it was sort of like a rainy day. It was like a misty rain, and it was like it wasn't so much that you would get like wet, but like it was like you could feel like the wetness on your face. And I was basically just walking past like a bunch of joggers, and then it took me a lot longer than I thought to cross the Brooklyn Bridge and basically explore the city around here, because for some reason I was trying to find like a rock climbing place to like mess around in, but I wasn't able to. And so I went to like I believe there was a food market near there. I don't remember what it was called, but I went to get some food, and then when I came outside, I realized it was basically nighttime, and I wasn't that comfortable being in New York at night, so I started hauling ass to get back. I was basically running across Brooklyn Bridge. At this point, there's like no one on the bridge. Like there were some people, but there weren't that many people. And I was coming because I didn't have like a car, and I didn't really want to spend money on a taxi.
Yeah.
Or
Uber.
Because I was a little prideful, and I feel like maybe it was a little dumb, but I came back, and I finally got to Broad Street. I remember going to like a food cart because I was really hungry after just running. And then my uncle lives near, so I just stayed at his apartment, and it turned out good, but there was some shady people on that bridge, so I was just a little worried. But that was the time when I was lost. So my next question for both of you guys is, what's a time where it was like the most random, like completely random things were happening, like, or it was a little chaotic around the subway, or maybe it doesn't have to be a subway story, but in New York in general.
Ooh, New York in general. Well, one of the most random things that happened to me. So my brother and I were taking the F train in Lower Manhattan. We were going to I don't remember where we were going, but so the F train, like, it went around like a really tight curve on the track, and then like a homeless guy almost fell on my brother's friend, and he had to like support him as he like fell down, and then like slowly like push him back up. They had like an awkward, like, I don't know, interaction after that. So yeah, I think a homeless guy falling on my brother's friend, that's probably the most random thing that happened on the subway for me.
For me, the most random thing that happened on the subway is I was in New York City. I was staying with my uncle, and we were gonna go see a New York Knicks game. And so I'm kind of like behind my uncle, like right next to my brother, and like there's like these homeless people, like I guess like near the subway, right? And so this one guy, he just started like talking to me, but like he wasn't calling me by like my name. He was like calling me by like, some random dude's name, and I was just like freaking out because I'm like 11 years old. And like some random guy who's like gray hair, and he's like just walking towards me, speaking to me, and I was like shaking. But like that definitely was like the most random thing that ever happened to me in New York City.
For me, I actually also have another story. I don't know what station this was on. I think it was Lower Manhattan, but I could be wrong. Basically, I'd gotten the train. I was sitting for a while, and this guy comes on the train, and he has like a speaker, and then he starts like break dancing on the thing. So this is pretty common, like, because you have people who are trying to get tips on the train station for like dancing and stuff like that. And then so he was doing that, and then the first weird thing that happened was he was breakdancing, he was doing it, and then he does like this trick off the pole where he's trying to do like a backflip off the pole.
Oh,
but
yeah.
He did it once successfully, and then he tried it again, and he just failed miserably, and he just full on his back, and the air is just like knocked out of it, and like people try to go around him, he's okay, but he's like don't touch me, and then so it was just like unexpected. But and then at the same time, like the next station over, this guy with a saxophone starts coming on, and right, and now I'm assuming that he's trying the same thing with like trying to get money for tips, and then he starts playing, and then these two guys start getting mad at each other because they're stealing each other's business basically, right? So they start getting mad, and it was to the point like I didn't stay around to find out. I got off on like the next station, but they were like, I thought they were going to start throwing punches and stuff, but it was like overstimulation. There was so much happening, but that was probably my most random moment.
Also, if you're really into like these street performances on the New York City subway, like you want to see people break dance or whatever, then you should probably try and go onto one of the long sections of the subway where there aren't a lot of stops in between. Mm-hmm. So between 59th Street and 125th Street on the A and D lines, there's a lot of people performing in there, and also like Rog was saying, from Lower Manhattan, the trains that go over the bridges, it's a pretty it's like 10 minutes between stops there. So there's a lot of people who do performances and stuff. Like, I remember I was sitting on a train going over, I think it was the Manhattan Bridge, and we had this like doo-wop group, like you know those guys that like snap and walk down.
Like almost like a barbershop quartet.
Or it was like a barbershop quartet, and they just like opened this like the subway car and just started like snapping and like singing as we're just going over the Manhattan Bridge. So those are prime locations to view this kind of stuff.
Okay, so for my next question, I have what is the time in New York where you were the most excited for something, or generally when you were just having the most fun or like most anticipation for something? Maybe you're traveling to a sporting event, or well, I'm not sure, but anything that fits that sort of bill.
For me, this is just like probably a train nerd thing, but actually was with Rog actually. In December, we went to New York City with our good friend Milland from NYU. And then we took a ride on the old subway train from like the 1960s that they had brought out for like this weekend. It was like the holiday train. So it was cool to see like train cars from the 1960s, and they preserved them, so like the ads are from the 1960s too. It was really nice to like go back in history and like just see that side of the subway, how it was like to ride it back then. It was honestly like pretty similar.
Yeah, it was pretty similar. It was cool also to see like there was like still like advertisements. From the city at that time. And like they were weird, man. I don't really remember exactly, but they were definitely like a little odd.
Yeah, that and also like the prices on them. It was like like 5 cents for like a subway ride. Or,
Yeah. So it's like definitely like a different time, I guess.
Yeah.
Also, one more thing I just want to mention on that is like if you have a young child or something, I really suggest taking them on a holiday train at least once if they still believe in like Christmas and stuff. Because it is a cool experience. It's cool to see the train coming in, and then you have like the Santa method actors or whatever, just like doing their thing. But like it's cool. It's cool.
For me, I guess it's kind of to piggyback off like my last story, but like I was like the most excited going to see a Knicks game. Like, I'm a huge basketball fan, and like before that, I think I'd only been to one NBA game. So just like the anticipation of going to see the Knicks, I was like giddy. Like, I like begged my mom to get me a New York Knicks shirt, even though I'm not even a Knicks fan. I'm a Sixers fan. So I was like,
wait a minute.
Like, I swear, like I was going crazy, and then like even at the game, like I like posted on like my Snapchat story like the Knicks are the GOAT, even though like, they're like the worst team in the league at that time. Like, I just like couldn't control myself.
Farhan would be disappointed, but for me, I just had an experience when I was like younger. It was like similar to like I took a holiday train in New York, and I was going into my uncle's house for Christmas, and it was really magical kind of seeing all that happen at the time, and it was even better like once I got off the train. I got like you know those Hess trucks. That's like that was like the gift I always wanted for Christmas every time. So it was like really cool having like sort of that train experience, and then it just fed right into like Christmas Day basically. So like it was that was probably my most exciting experience. Maybe in a similar vein for some of these stories, what is an experience you've had with family? On a train or friends or like other people. I know Abdoulaye was talking about his dad recently, so maybe that falls under that. But maybe if you have something, Oliver?
So actually for family, like I think my family has accepted that like I'm a huge train nerd, that I know all the subway stuff. So like whenever they go into the city, or whenever like we have family friends going into the city, they always like ask me for like I'm always like heading their like little tour group and like giving them directions like, okay guys, we got to take this subway and then that subway. And actually, even when my brother goes into New York, even if he has Google Maps, he will actually text me, how do I get to, like, the Mets Stadium from, like, 14th Street or something. And I think that's really cool. And something I do enjoy doing. It's just, like, it's nice to, like, help people, like, get around the subway.
I think you're good on that. So then I guess since you were talking about, could you go a little more about how you're helping people on the subway? Because that's my next question, actually. Like, what are some experience you have with either interactions with people on the subway and whether they're lost? Because I have some of those, but I'll let you take it away first.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting to see like on the subway, there's like the wide variety of people that are riding. Like, you know, you got like the New York locals, then you got the tourists, and like then there's everyone like in between, like people who like know exactly what where they're going, what they're doing, and then people who have like what do the colors mean, what's the subway, stuff like that. And then, but yeah, one experience I had was like back in December. This was also with Rog when we were on like the platform at like waiting for the holiday train to get back. There's a guy who like asked like,
Oh yeah, I remember this.
like when's the train coming? And like, I think he was waiting for the actual train, not like the holiday train.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, they're running. Or no, he was asking why the platform was so crowded,
Yeah,
right? Because
yeah.
it was like 5 people deep, even though the platform was like
Yeah.
2 feet wide.
Yeah.
And I said like, oh, they're running old trains on here from like the 1960s, and he said like something like, oh, are you sure those are the old trains? Because the current trains look pretty old too.
Yeah.
So he made a joke about that, and I was like, oh yeah, so if you want the next actual train's gonna come in like 5 minutes. So I think that was just cool to see like, you know, the different types of people on the subway. Like there's people like us waiting for the holiday train for that fun aspect of the subway, but there's also the people, you know, who are just trying to get from like point A to point B and like, you know, just want to get further along with their day. So I think just being able to see the variety of people who ride the subway and being able to hear their stories is really cool.
For me, it was a pretty standard experience, but there was like this huge Hispanic family who was coming to New York, and there was like 25 people I think who were like speak Spanish, and then one of them they looked really lost, right? And they basically asked like me and my mom like which we're trying to get to here, which way we should go. I don't remember what the location was. I think it was on the A or C train. Is that the one with the Columbia station? Is that
Columbia's on the one, but they might have, if it's the ARC, they might have been going to the Natural History Museum, maybe.
Maybe, because I forget where they were trying to go, but the one thing I remember clearly is my mom telling them, oh yeah, you're going the exact opposite direction. And they're like a little defeated, but then they're like, okay, let's go. And they just all filed out, and it was just like, I don't know, it just stuck in my mind for some reason, but that was probably one of my more memorable experiences. So now I know we talked a lot about like being alone at night in New York, but I was wondering if you had maybe any more experiences where the subway was most scary or you were worried about something.
Ooh.
And take your time to think about
Most
it.
scary. I feel like I haven't been on the subway too late.
Uh-huh.
Probably the latest is like 11 or 12.
No Joker subway scenes for you?
No Joker subway scenes. No running into like a clown that's just maniacally laughing in the background. Fortunately, but yeah, I've only been on the subway like late after a Brooklyn Nets game, and then the train was pretty crowded, so it felt fine. So. But one experience I did have that was like weird. This is on transit in general, not specific to New York. It was in Los Angeles.
Uh-huh.
So we went to go to like see the Hollywood sign because like Hollywood.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then so we were like going back, because we took an Uber there, but going back we wanted to like take the bus or something because it was faster. So we had to take this really convoluted route where we had to take like a subway, a bus, and then another bus. So like on the second bus, there's just like this random like lady who starts like following us, and she starts like randomly like just saying stuff to us, kind of like what you were saying with like the homeless guy who's like going up to you and just saying random stuff. So like we thought that was like, okay, that's kind of weird, but after we got off the first bus, we're like, okay, we're changing buses, this shouldn't be a problem anymore.
Yeah.
And then but then she follows us onto the next bus. So then we're on this second bus. This is at like 10:40 at night also. So this is late. And it's like only the 3 of us on the bus, and it's like me and a couple other guys. And then, so as our bus is pulling into like the stop where we're getting off, I just like whisper to them, run. Yeah. So like we get off the bus, we just like start sprinting away from the bus station.
Yeah.
Because when we were about to get off, I could tell that she was about to get off too.
Yeah.
So like I was like, okay, this is enough. So after we got off the bus, we just bolted out of there. I don't remember why she was following us or like if she was even following us at all, but it was too much of a coincidence at that point. I was like, okay, that's enough, no more.
For me, the scariest moment I've ever had, specific to the New York subway system, it's kind of like a story I told earlier about a homeless guy, but this was actually on the subway itself. But like, it wasn't even late at night. This is like midday, right?
Okay.
So I'm on like the subway with my mom. We're going to I think we're going to Queens, right? Because I think I had to get like my passport, and like my Senegalese passport. So we're going there, or it might be the Bronx. I don't know, somewhere in New York.
Yeah.
All right, forget it. I don't know where, but somewhere in New York City, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm just sitting there with my mom, and like we stop somewhere, and like a bunch of people, like a wave of people come on, and like there's this one guy who's kind of like, he's like moving weird, right? He's like just like seems like he's drowsy or like on drugs
Or drunk or something.
Yeah, right. And so he just like sits down, right? He sits down across from me. I'm like, okay. Like I'm starting to like panic because I'm like, all right, I've heard stories, but I don't know what this guy's gonna do. And then the guy just gets up in the middle of the subway ride, like just like, like just gets up,
Like stands to attention almost.
like yeah, basically, right. And the guy just starts like walking up and down like the subway cart, like just like
Back and
just,
forth.
like basically just like going back and forth, just like looking at people, like analyzing people as he walked past them. And then he starts like screaming. Like you start screaming. Like I swear, like I don't know what the guy was on, but he starts like screaming, running back and forth.
Yeah.
I swear I thought I was like in a movie or like I'm being like pranked or something. Because the guy just like kept doing it, like would walk past and like I would make eye contact with the guy. And like at this point,
first
like,
mistake.
at this point I'm like getting like I'm inching closer to my mom.
Yeah.
Because I'm like shaking at it. Like I'm trying not to hold I'm trying like for him not to see me.
Yeah.
Like it's obvious that I'm basically scared, right?
Yeah.
And so like he keeps doing it up and down, up and down. Like some people on the train are like getting fed up. They don't seem scared. They just like get up to like move away.
Yeah.
And so like this one lady, like a couple people, like they moved to like I guess my side of like the subway. And the guy just like runs past us, and like there's the people right next to me on my right, and he just like stops right in front of them. Like I swear, like he just stops. Just stops and just like stands there. And then like he's like, there's like still like a minute left on the ride to the next stop, and he's just like standing there, just like looking at them, and then he just gets off at the next stop.
Like nothing happened.
Like nothing happened. I was like shaking, like I was like, looking at my mom, like what the hell just happened, and she's just looking at me like this is normal because she used to work in New York City. I'm like, what the hell? Like this guy's like I don't like, bro, what is this guy on? He's just sort of running up and down like a little kid, screaming, and I'm like. And my mom was like,
yeah, that's
what do you want me to do?
Yeah.
But yeah, that had to have been like probably the scariest experience in my entire life.
Your mom's a seasoned Subway rider then.
Yeah.
Unfazed.
Unfazed. For me, I have like your standard. I stared too long at a homeless guy, and that was a mistake story. I think he had like a brown paper bag. I don't know what liquid was in there.
Like, oh.
but he was drinking it, and then I stared at him, and he's like, "What you looking at?" And then he just throws the brown paper bag at me, and it doesn't hit me, but like a little bit of the liquid like sprays out the bottle, and like it gets a little my arm. And I was like, "Oh, bro, come on!" And I just start like speed walking. I'm just like So, and then I just go to the nearest bathroom and wash my. Lucky he wasn't following me or anything like that. But like it was just like.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I would say number one rule, like, just ignore. Don't look anyone in the eyes. And just keep doing your thing, because that's the way you kind of survive in New York City.
That's how it has to go.
So, considering all these stories, would you think you prefer the New York City subway transit system or other countries' subway transit system? And I'm just gonna say right off the bat, I think other countries do it better. But hey, I want to hear what you guys think.
I think I like New York City. I like it for the extensiveness, and I feel like the extensiveness of the subway system, like 472 stations, it kind of goes everywhere, right? And I think what's unique about the New York City subway, some other subways have this too, but not many, is like express service, which I think is really useful. If you're going like far into a certain borough, you could like skip a lot of stops, and it's fun to like be in the train looking out the window, watching the other stations zoom by. So I think that's something that the subway does well. It like covers a lot of ground, and it gets you where you want, like when you need it.
Yeah. For me, I kind of like that's kind of like what Oliver said. I do like the fact that like if you live in New York City, you don't need a car. Like you don't need a car. You you could have a bike, but realistically you don't need anything. Like, you
Yeah.
just have the subway anywhere you can go, and even if your stop's not directly at the place that you need to be, you can walk there for like a couple minutes.
Yeah.
But me personally, I would say like kind of like what Rog said, other countries do it better. For me, I guess like a place that I can say in specificity is the UAE, specifically when I went to Dubai. I took the train system there, and it was like everything was just like so smooth, so clean. Everything seemed like so detailed out, and it wasn't like you were like trying to like ask everybody for information. Like it was prompt there. Like it took you to the places that you need to be quickly, and I think that overall just like, and the subways, they were really nice, really clean. But I think that also has to do with like the culture in the Dubai specifically. It's very just like a nice clean culture, just like a culture predicated on like being honest and truthful. Because like honestly, there you can leave your wallet out, you can come back the next day, and it's still gonna be there. Like nobody's gonna take it.
Dubai is widely considered one of the safest cities in the world, and I think New York has, if anything, the exact opposite reputation. Yeah, that's I agree wholeheartedly. I think that's why other countries are better than New York, because even though they may not be more extensive, the level of quality is much higher.
Yeah.
But if you don't really care about like homeless people or rats or whatever, then New York's fine. Like it's not that big a deal. I also don't. I like both subway systems. Like ultimately that's like a privilege in a way. But both. But I think other countries do it better.
The subway is like the no frills. It like gets you where you need to go.
Yeah,
that's kind of it. Like it's not particularly comfortable.
Yeah.
I mean, but it does the job. So
I think like a lot of like, I guess like the ancillary aspects of like the New York subway system and just like the train systems in general have to do like a lot with the culture of the country behind it, and I think that like really affects like your experience on the train, because like the culture in America, especially New York City, is different from like what you might find in like London and stuff like that. And even like city to city, you'll see like those big culture differences, and I think that affects like, especially like the comfortability and I guess like the quality of your travel.
Yeah, like in Japan, for example, there's like the culture is like very like punctual.
Yeah.
Like doing things like exactly by the book, stuff like that, and you can see that in the trains
Efficient.
too. Like they have to like point at every signal point like at the station, like when they get there, and like trains are scheduled to be like. I think it's like if it's like 90 seconds or more late, you can like get like an official apology or like a refund from the train company. So yeah, I think it's cool to see how like the country's culture can impact how the train system is run.
So I think that's it for our question and conversation. So now for the sort of latter half of the podcast, I'm gonna have Dule say any two locations in New York City.
All right.
And Oliver is going to have to come up with the best route of the MTA.
Here we go.
We'll try to keep this somewhat rapid fire. I'm going to give Oliver around 30 seconds to figure it out. If he gets it right, he gets it right. If he gets it wrong, he gets it wrong. So, Dule, take it away.
All right. So first off, we'll go my start location, Columbia University, and let's say I'm a student that's international, so I want to get to LaGuardia Airport, not JFK.
LaGuardia Airport. Well, actually, yeah, LaGuardia is a bit of a questionable airport. Probably like the unloved child of New York's three big airports. But I think so. Actually, Columbia University, that's a really easy location to get to LaGuardia from. So I believe you can take the M60 Select bus service from. I think it goes directly to Columbia actually. And then from there, you could go it's direct to LaGuardia Airport. I think it's Q60 or Q70, one of those two. Is it Q60?
I think it's Q70, actually.
Q70?
If you can...
Oh, M60.
Yeah,
so
M60.
It's a select bus service, which means limited stops. They have luggage racks for you. And then, it takes you directly to LaGuardia Airport.
So I think that was your first time, Oliver, so I don't believe that was in 30 seconds. But hey, I still wanted to let you finish, but this is your first time. Let's see if you can get it next time for Dule's next question.
All right, so let's say you want to start at the Chelsea Pier, and you want to make your way all the way to, let's say where the Brooklyn Nets play.
The Brooklyn Nets play. Right, so the Chelsea Pier is around 8th Avenue and 14th Street, and then the Brooklyn Nets is around Atlantic Avenue Barclays Center. So you'll want to probably take like the A or C train downtown into Brooklyn, And from there, you could transfer to the R train, which will take you directly to Atlantic Avenue Barclays Center.
So that was with 10 seconds to spare. Well done. What do you got next, Dule?
Let's say you want to go from Bryant Park to the World Trade Center.
Bryant Park to the World Trade Center. Okay, so there's a couple ways you can do this, but probably the fastest way, you might want to take the 7 to Times Square 42nd Street, and from there, you could transfer to either if you want to go directly to like the Oculus, you could take the 1 train to World Trade Center Corp Landed, or you could take the 2 and 3 train, which run express and only make a couple stops, and that can take you to Chambers Street or Park Place, which are both in the vicinity.
All right. Is that good, Rock?
Yeah, I think that's great. That's going to be the end of our episode. I thank you for listening. I hope you have found this interesting and informative. Before I end off, I just want to give Dule the floor if he wants to shout out anything or if he wants to mention anything.
Not specifically. I just want to thank Oliver and Rog for having me on the show. It's been something that I've been wanting to do for a good amount of time now, and I've been pestering them to get me on the podcast. But overall, I just want to thank them for allowing me to have this platform to speak today. And overall, I hope that you guys learned something out of it and were able to enjoy our entertainment for you guys today.
All right. Well said, Dule. We'll see you next time.